As usual, my brother, you allow me to think deeply about things, and you allow me the opportunity to express them and record them. And otherwise I wouldn't have done so. So the question becomes: can we live? Is it impossible? Is it impossible to live completely and entirely without stress? So let's define stress first. Stress is anything that causes harmful effects to the body, physiological and psychological, which both are the same. You can't separate the two. So anything that causes damage and suffering. So anything that causes damage and suffering, we can say this is stress. Stress, we know, science knows that the body cannot sustain prolonged periods of stress. We know that from children who have stress in their early childhood, their whole life is affected. So if you're exposed to stress at a young age, your threshold to respond to stress negatively in a harmful way, destructive way to the body and the mind, is lowered. So you're always more susceptible to that. So those who have abused or have had stress in their lives have a weakness to stress, to falling into that stressful state. So that your question was, is it entirely possible to be entirely free of stress in my life? And the answer is absolutely. Now, there's a distinction between, we recognize stress through our emotions: anger, self-doubt, depression, anxiety, even self-concept, negative feelings about ourselves that would express in depressive or anger. So we recognize stress as identical with these things conventionally, that stress is defined by this feeling of these emotions, these emotional experiences. But there's a distinction. There's a distinction for one who's trained in mindfulness or consciousness, in that one recognizes these emotions. I'm going to just use anger because it's the easiest. Anger or frustration, anxiety, these three. One who is conscious recognizes these things as not the self. Whereas one who's not fully conscious or trained in consciousness studies or practices identifies completely with these states. So then the whole body becomes that. I become filled with anger, and my neurochemical and hormonal changes all are the stress response. That tense, uptight, constricted, restricted. Energy is just blocked and condensed there. And damaging energy. So the difference is, I can be angry and still not be stressed. I can be frustrated and still not be stressed by it. And it's a simple process of recognition of passing phenomena. So when this anger comes, I can choose whether to use it productively or constructively, harness and channel that energy, because that's an energy. All of a sudden I'm angry about something. That's a powerful energy I could use. Powerful flow of energy that I can direct where I want it to, rather than it controlling me, taking me over. So that no matter what happens in the world, what happens emotionally as well, they're just things that are happening. They're not this self, this core being, this essence, this consciousness remains the same. It's unchanged by any passing event or thing or circumstance. Consciousness itself never changes. It never begins, it never ends, it's never changed or anything. It just is, it's there, it's conscious awareness, presence. So the conscious presence, which is my true nature, can view then all phenomena as just separate and apart. And say, okay, it's like the sun, I'm seeing a beautiful sunrise. Or I'm watching an emotion arise within me. And it's a process of recognition. Oh, there's a beautiful, let me be aware. Just, I don't even have to say anything. I'm just aware of the beauty of the trees and the sky. Just as I'm aware of the passing emotions within me. I don't have any strong negative emotions before like I used to, like self-doubt, fear, social insecurity, self-hate, self-loathing, fear everywhere I went, fear of not being good enough. Those things never arise within me anymore. Because at some point, I learned the trick of consciousness where these things are just arising and passing away of their own accord. And if I choose not to pay them give any value to them, other than just fleeting, passing emotions, like a wind, a breeze, a cool breeze, a zephyr blowing across my body and just relishing in it. So too, with anger, I could say, oh, okay, here I'm angry, this is great. Let me express this in a constructive way, and let me enjoy it while I'm doing it. I can't talk about the other things much because they don't happen to me much anymore. If I feel like I used to now, where to feel shame or guilt in something, I would, as an early beginner, as a novice, I would look at that and say, why should I feel shame or guilt? What is it in myself? What is it in my experience? What is it in my past or history that's allowed me to reach this state where I feel ashamed or guilty? I'm carrying shame around with me. And if we look at it closely, we know that it's a series of past events, conditioning, a pattern of experience and response that I've been involved in, that I've chosen to be involved in throughout the course of my life. So it's a recognition of what is within me, not denying or pushing away a feeling of self-guilt or shame, and saying it's not true. No, it is true. It's very true. It's right there. It's right there. So look into it. It is what it is. Accept what it is and let it pass. Endure it. Go through it. So it's in the process of enduring these emotional experiences, recognizing that they're temporary, and then enduring them no matter how uncomfortable. In fact, the more uncomfortable, the better. And reaching the other side, that we become inured, we recognize that they're of their passing temporary nature. And we're not so frightened of experiencing them anymore. And we don't try to push them away or avoid them or distract myself with some pleasure or something good or some positive self-talk. I don't have to do any of that. I just have to look at it and be it, endure it for that while. And then slowly these things fade from importance. They have no relevance. It's raining today, it's not raining. It's sun is shining, it's not sun, the sun is not, it's cloudy. There's no relevance on my life, on who I am. And you'll find these emotional disturbances come less and less until they don't come at all. At all. And you're just left with peace and bliss. That's how it works. Thank you.